water is in increasingly short supply, there is a potential disaster of a very different sort that could be headed for Europe. High temperatures could make conditions perfect for a voracious creature to emerge in the billions. Europe is coming under attack by a massive swarm of locusts. A shortage of water is causing droughts, dust storms, and fires to sweep the planet. Hot, dry environments with very little moisture create the perfect conditions for the most destructive pest on Earth, the desert locust. In one day, these insects can eat their own body weight in food, leaving famine in their wake. Cambridge, England, one of the world's top research centers, leading the way in the fight to understand the desert locust.
Most of the times, locusts exist in a form which not only doesn't swarm, actively detests the presence of other locusts, but under the right circumstances they'll come together. Hunger is overcoming their natural aversion to each other.
In the future, drought will lead to less food, forcing these hungry locusts to group together. Dr. Rogers' research has revealed the Jekyll and Hyde switch is triggered by close physical contact, causing their back legs to rub together, releasing serotonin in their brain. This chemical causes a startling and frightening transformation.
Their appearance completely changes. They become adapted to a life of swarming migration. They're able to fly further and walk further than solitary locusts. And their color changes dramatically as well. They go from being cryptic, camouflaged animals to being brightly colored.
So serious is the threat that the United Nations has a locust forecast center in Rome, monitoring the globe for early signs of potential swarms.
The desert locust is probably the world's most dangerous insect pest. This is because of the amount of food that a locust swarm can consume can have a dramatic effect on a family, on a village, on an entire nation, on an entire continent.
Dr. Cressman is worried that the African locust plagues could move further north, striking deep into Europe.
By 2025, with the effects of climate change, there is a possibility that southern Europe could be a much hotter and a much drier place. This would benefit the desert locusts. It would give them a new place to migrate towards.
Dr. Cressman is in constant contact with teams in the field to identify where the locusts are grouping so they can be destroyed before they take to the air. Aircraft fly in to spray the insects with pesticides. If the swarms are not caught early, like a raging forest fire, they become impossible to control.
We see that there is a plague every 10 to 20 years. Now we're expecting that the next desert locust plague will be in the year 2025.
North Africa has experienced a prolonged drought. There is less rain, but when it comes, it is in frequent and short bursts. The rains trigger the female locusts to lay their eggs. There's a population explosion. Within 1 month, the locusts gather in the millions. But when the food runs out, their transformation begins. It's June, and the swarm takes to the air. A plague of over 2 billion insects rise from the desert sands of Africa.
A locust swarm can arrive, go right through the farmer's field, and by midday he has nothing left of his crop.
The farmlands of Morocco and Algeria are totally destroyed in just 2 weeks.
The desert locust has evolved this magnificent survival mechanism called migration. How it does this is by moving with the winds.
Winds from the south blow the cloud of insects, which is 3 times the size of Manhattan, across the Mediterranean. Within 4 hours, they reached the Italian coast. 300 miles north lies Rome, the capital of Italy. One of the world's most famous tourist destinations is bustling with visitors and over 4 million locals.
When it's a really big swarm, you can't imagine the volume of the insects that are involved. It's like waves after waves after waves of insects coming at you, coming into the city. You see there's no end to it. It's just a continuation. It's a dark cloud of living creatures just embroiling the city. It's paradise to them, with its beautiful parks, its green trees.
Over 1 billion locusts have survived the long journey and fled down into the ancient streets. The sun is blacked out as the swarm fills the sky. The search for food takes them into every street.
They will descend on some of the city's most famous monuments, like the Colosseum.
The stones of this ancient stadium become a resting ground for 1 billion locusts. Every piece of vegetation stripped bare, the swarm now moves further north to look for food. The Italian breadbasket is totally consumed, and soon the French vineyards are decimated. The locusts can live for 6 months, and the swarm has reached Paris. The Eiffel Tower is smothered by this devastating plague. Locusts need very little water to survive, so the future water shortages could bring paradise for these destructive creatures.
It's quite clear that the desert locust is much better armed to deal with climate change than the human race.
The slightest change in the Earth's climate patterns could put the food supply of many nations under threat from locusts.